Back on Play It Forward with Gerardo Maravilla. Gerardo, thank you so much. Filmmaker, writer, director, and actor.
Oh, I don't consider myself too much of an actor, but it's been many years since I've done
Is that
that.
right? I have that in my notes. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I used to I've done it before, but just out of necessity and like haven't done it since I was like a teenager, really, in earnest. So
Well, it's cool. I mean, it's important for directors to have, some acting experience. It's always helpful so you can sympathize. But I'm going to get it correct. Writer, director, and we're going to be talking about Vivir, which is a little sort of semi-horror short drama movie. Before we do, Gerardo, aka Jerry, can you introduce yourself a little bit and then set up Vivir for us?
Yeah, for sure. Again, thanks for having me. My name's Gerardo Maravilla. A lot of my friends call me Jerry. I'm a writer, director, filmmaker, just storyteller overall. And Vivir is a short horror drama that I made that is about a despairing Latina artist kind of at the end of her rope who crosses paths with a mysterious immortal that gives her a new perspective on life.
There you have it. Okay. All right, man. So thank you for that. Thanks for that setup. And you know, our films are just revealing of who we are and our experiences. So, how'd you say it? I think you said despairing Latina artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna just put a little flesh, more meat on that bone in terms of the narrative for the audience. It's a film about a visual artist, a painter of some types. Let's just say she wasn't painting necessarily, but um, a visual artist that is, for whatever reason, feeling trapped in the opening of the film. There's like something going on. There's, this sort of kind of creative uh character trope of like this artist struggling, suffering artist thing. And then so we're kind of in that world, and that's a trope because it's true. There's a lot of those. There's a lot of happy artists too. But and it's just like, people, right? There's happy, sad, you get the whole variety. Um, and I think the nature though with art, I'll just say is that, suffering, a lot of I think that art turns suffering into some sort of redemption. That's kind of a built-in thing with art oftentimes. And so here we have this artist, and we can say, she's looking for some redemption, but she's perhaps at the end of the rope and she's contemplating suicide. She's at the moment where she's about to commit to some sort of action, and she's intervened by this immortal, aka vampire type
Yeah.
being. And what's really interesting about it is, so they go through their little, thing, and then really the drama hinges upon what the vampire wants. And it's something a little unusual. It's not just like the standard blood draw. It's painting. She wants a
Yeah.
painting. She wants her portrait painted because she is a vampire and she cannot see herself. She can't see her reflection. So now we have a theme. We have a really strong theme, and we have a topic, and we have depth, And so here you have a painter who's, potentially feeling worthless. Now all of a sudden she is in need. She is
Mhm.
is important because of what she's able to do. And that is kind of the narrative focal point that everything hangs upon. So how'd I do?
Oh no, that's great. I mean, that's definitely ultimately what I want people to take across, to interpret from the film itself, as art, a lot of artists or a lot of creative people, I think you can get stuck in your own mind. And there is that kind of like suffering artist trope for a reason, but ultimately I think I just think another piece to it is just the struggle to feel like your work has any value to somebody, especially when you're starting out, or maybe you've hit a wall, or you just feel stagnant, and I think that Ultimately, you want the work to be seen and appreciated and experienced by someone, and often that might be somebody that you don't expect, or people that you come across that you didn't think you would be able to connect with. So I think that was like definitely part of the personal motivation for telling the story. And then I just love genre. I love horror. I love vampires, things like that. And I just feel like there's still a lot of unexplored territory there of like what can they say? What do they mean? How are they like reflections of our society and our culture and ourselves? Because they've lasted, these tropes or these creatures have lasted for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. And it's I think relevant to anyone, um, filmmaker, artist, or just human being, looking for their place in the world of how do I have meaning? And that's ultimately, what I'm looking at when I watch your film. It's this sort of self reflection, this self-realization, this desire to be self-realized, and how do we self-realize ourselves? And there's, different spiritual contexts, there's different religious contexts, there's worldly contexts of like, well, I have to have value. I mean, that's, in
Mhm.
this thing we're talking about, what is my value? And in this particular narrative, she finds value in, a connection with it's not just service. I mean, she is, so engaged in a service, but it's a service that runs deep to the core of who she is and how she's looking to express herself and do inner work, inner reflection. So here she is now. She's coming to a point where she's kind of taken that gift or skill or both and is cultivating it and serving in a way, and that is has this redemptive quality. Now Vivir, now she wants to live, right? Now her
Mhm.
choice is different. So how do you see the meaning and message of the movie in your life? I mean, clearly it's had like it's a there's a self narrative there, to a great degree, as you are, a young artist making your way through the world and finding your own self-worth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that uh, as someone who struggled with depression and anxiety in different ways too, and found creativity as a wonderful outlet for that. But just the struggles of, filmmaking is a challenging art form for many ways. I don't come from a background of, having personal connections or family in that field. So it felt like a lot of navigating it on my own for the first time and not really knowing if I was doing the right thing, not knowing ultimately, like the character does, like if anyone cares what I'm doing, and then having the experience of being able to just create in the first place and then having that work when you have that moment when you ultimately feel like your work is connecting with someone. And I think that, I mean, philosophically, I think what I've uncovered is for myself is that I think ultimately everybody just wants to be seen and be seen for, especially like for who they hope to be or who they want to be. And that people ultimately go where they're loved or where they're appreciated. And so I think trying to imagine that kind of basis philosophically for the story, and then finding like why did I gravitate towards horror? Why did I gravitate towards like punk music or like other subcultures and things like that? Is because they've made me feel seen and appreciated for the values and things that I ultimately cared about. And so I thought it would, yeah, I think that's been the personal reflection. I just thought it would be fun to wrap that into a genre story, but without, dulling the edges of what maybe some of that more existential or mental health issues might be for the main character.
Yeah, thank you. Totally appreciate it. In my own life now, as um, I'm 50, so whatever that is, it's a midpoint, I guess, certainly. Um, I find myself at a place where my work, with being as an artist or as a human being, um, kind of the same. It's, there's still the pull to be seen, perhaps, but that's I recognize as a egoic part of myself. And then there's a
Hmm.
deeper sense of seeing myself. That's really the ultimate, challenge. And so that's where I connected with that vampire, is that she's not able to see herself. She doesn't know who she really is, right?
Hmm.
And to be able to see yourself, and that's a metaphor, right? The mirror is the metaphor. So now when you take that mirror and you work on seeing yourself internally as who you are, well, can you find the value there? And all of a sudden, it's irrespective of where you might find yourself, in what company or in what context, or, that equanimity kind of runs the same. Now, how do you relate to that? And is that something that I guess you're doing or connect with?
No, definitely. I think that I've joked with my producer or told her Evelyn, Angelica Martinez, one of two producers on the project, but she and I have collaborated 3 times, and sometimes I feel like she's the vampire and I'm the artist in a way, just because she saw. I don't know, she really pushed me. I hadn't directed since pre-COVID. For a while, I've been focused more on writing, but wasn't sure about the industry. I've been submitted to a lot of things and not gotten them, whether it was film festivals or fellowships and stuff. And I really felt like uh, she saw something, I guess, in me and my work and believed in me, and that was really encouraging and like rejuvenating in a way. And I think that that definitely um, connects to this story, being that way. I think I had that moment of self-discovery there on the set, realizing that when she was there and we were like
Mm,
shooting up on the
mm,
rooftop and stuff, and I
yeah,
was like, oh my God, Evelyn, you're the vampire here,
yeah,
in some capacity. But just like the impact that that one person can make too, when you feel
right,
like that person sees you too,
yeah,
and then helps you see yourself,
yeah,
reconnecting with the inspiration, motivation, ideas that made you excited to like do something in the first place. And you can get lost in the realities of everything or the pressures of the outside world. And so it's just like so helpful to have other people around you who can, be that mirror to yourself of like, hey, you maybe don't see this anymore. You don't see this in the same way, but here's what I see. And that can be enough gas in the tank to keep pushing
yeah.
for a bit longer.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, man. There's a line in the movie. It says, "Consider it a gift, something to remind you there's still magic out there." So, when we come across people, situations, moments that help us see that in ourselves, um,
Yeah.
is the real magic and a real gift.
Yeah, I think that, it can be easy to get stuck in a routine or stuck in a way or feel like, I think especially I don't know. I mean, I never lived in any other time, but with like the technology and stuff we have now, it can give you a false sense that you like know everything or that
Yeah,
you know what's out there or what it's going to be. And all it takes is like one experience or one interaction, one encounter to remind you of how much you don't know, or how much possibility there still is out there. So, I think that was a point that I wanted to make or show with the story, as well as just like, just because you feel like you're at a certain end or you feel like you know everything, like the world will always have a way or have that opportunity still to surprise you.
yeah,
So to hold out for those moments as well, because they can be really encouraging and inspiring and just surprising and remind you of uh, all that there is in life.
yeah. How do you stay connected to those moments and try to cultivate those moments in your life?
Oh man, I think it can be difficult, sometimes when you're stuck in, working every day or, caught in the same, minutia of details or looking at just kind of terrible things in the news and stuff like that that can get you down. But I just recently came back from a trip to Mexico and where my father's family is from, and I've always had like great rejuvenating experiences there. I think traveling is one instance of that, being able to go and connect with my family there, but also just connect to a part of myself that I don't get to always feel every day, or maybe, certain circumstances of media or politics make me or create a sense of how you should feel about a particular heritage or background that is so separate from the real life existence. And then ultimately, I definitely feel like art, music, film, stories have been ways that connect. You can go into a movie theater and come out and almost feel like a changed person depending on the experience there, of what you have. And I play guitar, and that's always feels like connecting with my body in a different way. So I definitely think like travel, art, and then like family and friends and those kind of things can are ultimately the stuff that's worth living for, right? Or those are the things that really make me feel connected to myself.
It's a great recipe.
Yeah.
Um, since you made Vivir, how have you been personally changed?
Oh, it gave me so much more confidence and experience to direct again. I was able to direct another short after that through the Latino Film Institute with some support there, which I hadn't really had before, called Enséñame Cómo Morir, which means Show Me How to Die. And that's a film that's starting its festival
Cool.
run right now, which is really
Right.
cool. And it's pushed me to, I've just written my pilot. I've written another feature. While I was in Mexico, partly was for a screenwriting lab called Sine Qua Non, where I'm developing a feature film called Child of Glass about a little boy in Mexico who befriends a vampire. So still got vampires in
Oh,
in there. But yeah, I think it's like those experiences I feel changed, and that like having like, oh, I can do this. And ultimately as Vivid's played the festivals and connected with different people, and being able to go to screenings, it's just more of like, oh, okay, yeah, like it is rejuvenating. It is inspiring to keep going and keep finding, making those decisions and choices to keep creating the work.
cool. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. Keep going, man. We
Thank
got
you.
you got it. Gerardo Maravilla, Jerry, writer, director. The film is Vivir. Thanks for being on the show. And till next time, everybody play it forward.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. All right. Bye.